Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Cowboys top NFL free agency targets as 2025 offseason begins. The NFL playoffs ensue this weekend, but the Dallas Cowboys aren't part of the action. Ending their season with 2 consecutive losses, the team concluded their campaign with a 7-10 record and third-place finish in the NFC East. For the first time in 4 seasons, they failed to make the postseason, an occurrence that sadly fits the atmosphere that's surrounded the Cowboys throughout the past year. For one, the uneventful 2024 offseason already raised questions about how the team would fare once the games began. Then the season-ending injury to Dak Prescott happened amidst a losing streak. Add in all the contract drama surrounding Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and it was definitely a year to forget for America's team. It doesn't help that the Cowboys are in a bad position in terms of salary cap space. Nevertheless, more than 20 players are set to become free agents. Some notable names who look to be entering the market, unless they are re-signed, of course, include Brandon Cooks, Zach Martin and DeMarcus Lawrence. Others such as Rico Dowdle and Osa Odigizua are also upcoming free agents, but it's been reported that that team has a desire to keep them. With the assumption that some of the aforementioned names will be departing and that Prescott and Lamb allow their massive contracts to be restructured, that gives the Cowboys space to sign outside free agents. So who should they target, if ever? Here are 3 players that would presently boost the roster. One thing that could improve the Cowboys' offense is more depth at the receiver spot. CeeDee Lamb has reached the 1,000-yard mark again, but from a certain set of lenses, he's practically been a one-man receiving crew out there. This isn't to throw shade at Dallas' other receivers, but the Cowboys don't exactly have that clear-cut number 2 guy. Specifically, they don't have a Jalen Waddle or Devonta Smith-esque second option to back up their newly extended superstar. Superstars, for that matter, since Prescott would also benefit from an improved receiving core. With that being said, the Cowboys should sign Amari Cooper for another stint. There may be qualms about this take, the main one being Cooper's numbers this season. The 5-time Pro Bowler finished with just 547 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns, but it's important to note that he was traded mid-season from the Cleveland Browns to the Buffalo Bills. It's not easy to adapt quickly to an entirely new system or immediately build chemistry with a new QB, so one could deduce that it played a part in his current stats. Furthermore, Deshaun Watson's struggles prior to Cooper's trade weren't helping either. A return to Dallas equals familiarity. Cooper has had high-yardage seasons playing alongside Prescott and under head coach Mike McCarthy, so the Cowboys would surely know how to utilize him alongside Lamb. What about his age? Cooper may be 30 already, but it was just in 2023 when the wideout tallied 1,250 receiving yards for the Browns, a career high. There's a good chance that a lot of gas remains in the tank at present. B.J. Hill throughout the season, the Cowboys struggled at stopping the run. They allowed opponents to put up an average of 137.1 rushing yards per game, 4th worst in the entire league. Even worse, among all teams, Dallas had given up the most number of rushing touchdowns in the regular season, 25. Factor in how Osa Odigizua's status is uncertain, so the headache in the middle might get even worse. What could alleviate this is targeting Bengals defensive tackle B.J. Hill. Despite a couple of injuries, Hill still managed to see action in 15 games, finishing the regular season with 56 tackles, 25 solo, and 3 sacks. Last season when he was fully healthy, the DT tallied a total of 4.5 sacks. While his age, 29 years old, may not be suitable for long-term purposes, Hill's proven resume shows how much value he can provide if the Cowboys ink him for a year or 2. Hall of Famer suggests wild Steelers-Cowboys head coach trade, things are stale. Hall of Fame coach Jimmy Johnson believes things are going off the rails in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin. As Johnson put it, things have become stale, and something needs to change for the Steelers to get back on track. Johnson has one wild idea, though. He would trade Tomlin to the Dallas Cowboys, but not for draft capital, but for Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. McCarthy is a Pittsburgh native, and Johnson feels both sides would get a jolt from the trade. Things are stale in Pittsburgh. Things are stale in Dallas. How about a coaching swap? Mike McCarthy is a Pittsburgh guy. Let him go to the Steelers. Let Mike Tomlin go to the Cowboys. Both franchises would be excited, Johnson said. Conversely, Steelers legend Terry Bradshaw could not believe what he saw. He ripped into the Steelers' performance against the Ravens. "I can't get over the game last night when you saw the Baltimore Ravens beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers now have lost 5 straight games. I mean, that's just unheard of. The defense was just horrible, they couldn't stop the run, couldn't stop the pass. They couldn't do anything right last night. This just doesn't look anything like the Steelers teams we've seen," Bradshaw said. The Steelers will make changes, but the head coach will not be one of those. However, as Bradshaw states, something needs to change, and the results have stayed the same despite changing coordinators and personnel multiple times. Skip Bayless pleas for Steelers to trade coach Mike Tomlin to Cowboys. Skip Bayless has made his feelings known on who he wants the next Dallas Cowboys coach to be, and did so as only he can, with an all-caps plea on social media. Since the Pittsburgh Steelers lost in Saturday night's wild card round game against the Baltimore Ravens, speculation has grown surrounding head coach Mike Tomlin's future in Pittsburgh. Chase Daniel wondered on Saturday night that Cowboys owner Jerry Jones may be dragging his feet in contract talks with Mike McCarthy, whose contract expires on Tuesday, thinking that Tomlin may become available. Similarly, before Sunday's game between the Green Bay Packers and Philadelphia Eagles, Jimmy Johnson floated the idea of the Cowboys and Steelers swapping coaches. Ryan Ruocco describes feeling of calling Domingo German's perfect game as Yankees broadcaster, that's music to Bayless' ears. Bayless, who rarely misses a chance to make his love of the Cowboys known, took to X, formerly Twitter, on Sunday, literally begging for the Steelers to send Tomlin to Dallas. "Please, Steelers, please trade Mike Tomlin for Mike McCarthy. Pretty please," he said. We do have some unfortunate news for Bayless. Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette reported on Sunday that the Steelers aren't likely to move on from Tomlin. Despite a widespread public outcry and another embarrassing early exit from the postseason, the Steelers are not planning to make any move involving coach Mike Tomlin, according to team sources, Dulac wrote. After losing their 6th consecutive postseason game and being one and done for the 8th time under Tomlin, the Steelers will apparently attempt to fix their recurring problems with solutions that don't involve their 18-year head coach. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Mike Tomlin? Leave your opinion in the comments.